modern living has most of us feeling pretty time poor on a day-to-day basis. The idea of fitting in a 60-minute or even longer yoga practice each day just seems like an impossible task. Well, the problem with our idea of being time poor is that yeah, we might be busy, but most of us don't manage our time particularly well, and we can easily talk ourselves out of taking the best advantage of the time that we have. So rather than wondering where you're ever going to fit that hour's yoga practice in, or knowing that you can never fit an hour's yoga practice in, why not each day pick a pose and spend 5 minutes working your way through that posture? And it is amazing what a difference just one short practice will make to your day. Today's 5-minute yin is the toe squat, and we're going to begin on our knees. Now, I'm a big fan of the toe squat. I know it's not everyone's favourite pose, but if you want something that is fast and effective and is actually going to have an influence throughout the whole body, this is definitely the pose for you. So toe squats are quite simply a way of stretching out the fascia of the sole of the foot and around the toe joints as well. All of the lower body energy meridians either begin or end in the toes. So you're actually having an influence throughout the body when you practice this. So how do we get into a toe squat? Well, there's a couple of ways that you can do it, but I find the simplest way, especially if you're a beginner, is to bring the feet together, toes, they don't need to touch, but as close together as you can bring them, and come up into a wide knee squat position. Now from here, you're going to walk your hands forward in front of you, and as you do, begin to lower your knees down onto the floor. So this way, you end up more on the ball of the foot rather than on your tippy toes, where you kind of miss out on all the really good stuff. Now, if like me, you've got little tiny small toes that tend to curl in their own direction, you might want to just take your hands and just tuck those small toes under so they don't miss out on all the fun. Now, if you're new to toe squats, if this is your first time doing them, you're probably going to find that just getting your hips to your heels and sinking your weight onto the feet as you're in this position is really quite intense. And if that's the case, you're going to keep your hands on the floor in front of you and concentrate on letting go and sinking down into the feet, sinking the weight of your body hips to heels. Sometimes being on the floor means that you round over in your spine, so use a bolster or a couple of blocks, a heavy cushion, just to help to keep the chest a little more open, allowing you to sink down into that lower body further and further. Now, if you've practiced this once or twice, or if you have a little bit of movement in the feet, if there's some flexibility there, you can begin to walk the hands towards the body. And as you walk the hands towards the body, it allows you to bring the torso all the way to an upright position. Now, in this upright position, your full body weight is now sinking down onto the toes, and you're going to know about it. It's going to feel pretty intense. So we're holding here. I usually like to keep the palms up, stops me pressing down into my thighs as I hang on to this position, so it keeps everything more relaxed. So with the palms up and the shoulders rolled down and away from the ears, sinking your weight down onto your feet, you're going to take a nice deep breath in through the nose, opening the mouth wide, breathing out. Inhaling through the nose, breathing out, and one more time, in through the nose. Now, if you can hold here in the beginning for 30 seconds, that's a really great start, eventually working up to 1 minute and above. But remember, if you start to feel any kind of burning sensation in the shins, If the knees start to protest a little bit too much, any pain sensations around about the feet, you want to come out. So to come out of such an intense pose, remember in yin practice, it's the closest you'll feel to being 100 years old without being 100 years old. So when you're 100 years old, you don't do anything very quickly. We move very slowly, in fact. You're going to take the hands in front of you. And you're going to begin to walk the hands forward as you shift the weight into the arms and the palms. Slowly releasing the weight from the feet. Now you don't do this quickly at all. Releasing the weight. Once the weight is kind of evenly balanced, you can let one set of toes untuck, the other set of toes untuck, and oh, you might want to just breathe out here with a big sigh. Tapping the tops of the feet onto the floor. Take the toes together, the knees wide. Sink the hips down towards the heel so the ankles are flat, the tops of the feet flat on the floor. And you can just take a moment in child's pose, resting the forehead to the floor or grabbing a block if you need it. Holding here just for a few breaths, keeping the hips heavy, pushing down towards the heels. Everything sinking down like the floor is kind of pulling you towards it. Gravity is really taking over here. And then we're going to roll up. Hips, waist, shoulders and neck. Rolling all the way up. Back to an upright position. Now, you can repeat your toe squat several times, in fact, to get the most benefit out of it. But even doing it once is still really good. After you've done the toe squat, it's important to do something that is an opposing movement, so a complementary movement. So going into an ankle stretch. Now, to take your ankle stretch, you can place your hands behind you. If you're struggling to put your hands on the floor, grab a couple of blocks and place them just at the side of the hips. Pressing gently through the fingertips, opening the chest, keep the head facing forward. You're going to take a deep inhale and you're lifting the knees away from the floor. And as you lift the knees away from the floor, be conscious that you don't curl your spine so your chest kind of drops towards your knees. Keep the chest open. Press through the palms if you can. It will help to open the shoulders a little bit here. Keep looking straight ahead rather than down at your knees and hold this position. If it feels right to do so, you can take the hands away and you can actually maintain the position with the hands on the thighs. It's a little more intense, works a little bit of your core here as well. But if you're happy just leaning back onto the palms, that's absolutely fine. And you only need to hold here 30 seconds, no more. And then you can slowly float the knees, not drop, float the knees down to the floor once again. And coming back into your child's pose, so keeping the feet together, the knees wide, sinking your belly between the legs. As you come down to the floor one more time, forehead to floor, hips to heels, breathing deeply into the belly and into the back. Holding here for 3 to 5 breaths until everything feels like it's kind of returning to normal. And then keeping the head and neck heavy as you breathe out. Walk the hands back towards the body as you roll up. Hips, waist, shoulders and neck. Coming all the way up to your sitting position once more. And you can repeat those rounds as often or as little as you want to, or as time allows you. If you can do kind of 3 rounds, toe squat, child's pose, ankle stretch, child's pose. Repeating that 3 times throughout the day, it will change your world. That's all I'm going to say.